This is episode number 128 of the Homeowner Show. Whether you're DIY or looking to hire, we're here to help you find the best information and options for you and your home. My name is Kevin Hackett, and here with me is Craig Williams.
Hello, and welcome to the Homeowner Show. We're glad that you could join us this week. What are we doing this week, kids? Are we having a show?
We are having a show.
We're live on the Facebooks.
Of course, always.
Yep, on all the ways that you can be live on Facebook.
Right.
Yep. As live as you can be.
We have made ourselves available.
Yeah. So we haven't gotten kicked off there yet.
Not yet.
So we're working on that.
Yep.
We really would like to be kicked off.
No, because that's where our esteemed listeners come to find us.
I need that badge on my sash.
Do you?
Yeah.
Like the whole Facebook jail thing? You
Absolutely.
want that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I need a good 48-hour. I mean, it'll just force me to not talk to people. So it'll be a good excuse to take a couple days off.
Man, muzzling you, that would be...
So somebody spread a really dirty rumor about me or something. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. I can work on that.
I mean, Kevin, were you at the Capitol on January 6th?
Not one. I really can't talk about that.
Okay.
So but I will tell you this, Craig.
Okay. But you have made some other mistakes.
Of course. Plenty of mistakes.
But that wasn't one of them.
No.
Okay.
Well, I can't talk about it. But here's the deal. There are these days where you wake up and you think, you know what? My life's pretty good. I'm doing well. I got a good job. My wife loves me today. Right? I got
Was
kids.
It Tuesday?
Yeah,
she told me that's the only day she agreed to.
It was. Actually, it's Friday because that's pizza night. I got a good job. I got a nice house. I'm smart, right? People, dadgummit, people like me.
It sounds like an SNL sketch.
Yeah, I think it is.
Okay.
But you think you're doing really good, and then you find out that you've lived in your house for almost 4 years, and the hot and cold water on your washing machine are backwards.
That was my favorite phone call this week, by the way. To be fair, I had some crappy phone calls. But it was my favorite phone call this week.
So, you laughed a good while. But so here's the deal. So we've been having some trouble with our washer and dryer. Dryer's been weird for a while because it just doesn't ever shut off. It'll go until you open the door, till Kingdom Come. So you have to set the timer separately. It's just frustrating. So you're like, whatever, but we can do that. Well, then our washing machine just kind of stopped working. And we're like, my wife's come back and she'd say, it's not washing. I'm like, what do you mean it's not washing? So I go in there and I just put my hand on top of it and I'm like, babe, I feel steam coming out of this. You never wash stuff on hot water. What is going on? She's like, oh, it's always like that. What? But what?
Since when?
What do you mean it's always like that? She's like, well, I mean, I don't notice it all that often. I set it and I walk away and it does the washing. But I've noticed recently whenever it's not working correctly, it's just not, it's hot. And I was like, man, okay. So I'm like, this thing is not working. Something's wrong. So I'm out there researching, trying to figure out a new washer and dryer combo. And, then she's like, well, it actually worked okay the other day. And I was like, oh, maybe we could hold off. So I'm back and forth, right? I said, listen, before I go out and spend like $2,000 on a washer and dryer pair, because those things are freaking expensive, I'm just going to pull this thing out. I'm going to see what's going on because I was listening to the water fill and it was like just trickling in. And that's not normal. So turn the water off, take the hoses off. And sure enough, the cold water is just clogged. Like the filter's clogged with debris. So I get my shop back out. I clean it out. Guys, do yourself a favor before you call, Paul or somebody else and try to fix it yourself, right?
Listen, be a man.
Be a man. And so I did that. I'm like, okay, I'm fairly certain about this. And I was like, I should really check something. So I turn on the hot water, the red knob.
Right.
It's a red knob. I turn it on, put it down into a 5-gallon bucket, and it just cold as ice. So I turn on the blue knob, and it's hot.
Naturally.
Y'all, my knobs are backwards. I didn't hook it up wrong.
You can't set me up like that.
Okay. So how many people check to see if those things are right before you hook them up to your washer and dryer?
Which my question to this was, who was your home inspector?
Well, I
wanted to ask Ricky if this is something that she checks.
Yeah, I wonder if it is something that's supposed to be checked. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I really do like the guy that did my inspection. He did a great job. He's a friend.
Yeah.
But, I don't really know. But I'll tell you this. I hooked it up correctly, put a new load in the washer.
Uh-huh.
It works great.
The washing machine's fine.
Yeah, but what was happening was it was just trickling in because it was clogged, right? And on top of that, it was trying to put hot water in, which it probably doesn't fill quite as quickly with the hot as it does with the cold. And the sensor inside of it was sensing there's not enough water in it. And so it just didn't do anything.
No.
And once it filled fine, it worked fine.
Yeah.
But I felt like an idiot. I'm like, come on. Who hooks up the washer and dryer wrong and doesn't know for 4 years?
Well, we have low expectations when your knobs are backwards, Kevin.
Hey, my knob's been backwards for a long time. I don't know what to do about it.
Oh. Well, if there's one thing that's better than clean clothes, is a clean house.
Oh man,
a sanitized house.
That is a really good transition.
Thank you.
I see what you did there.
I worked on that for 2 hours today.
Nice.
I got a lot of free time.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah. So we have a really cool show for you guys in the hopefully what is the tail end of this pandemic. Which maybe not what you guys are hoping for. I don't know. We'll see. But we have some great guys. We have my friend Matt and Chase in the studio. And Kev, introduce these guys. Guys, be polite.
Yeah, so we're glad to have these guys from Living Safe at Home, and I guess the best thing to do is just kind of ask you guys, tell us about you, and we know that you're from the Houston area, but a little bit about you. How'd you get into this line of work? And tell us, just kind of kick us off here. Who wants to go first?
Alrighty, well, I'm Chase Fasut. Thanks for having us here. I'm very excited. First podcast we've done, but a little bit about me. I actually live in the Austin area.
Oh, okay.
We started researching kind of disinfecting and certain applications that we could do well before the COVID pandemic. Had a lot to do with school absence rates, being a real family oriented, family business, all that. It's kind of where we started looking, and this company's been up and going. Living Safe is relatively new, but our other applications are over a year or so. That's kind of we got started into it. Real awesome timing for us, and very, very excited to be a part of it and helping families.
And real quick, I think what you just said is really important for people to understand is that you guys aren't opportunists.
Exactly.
No, we've been doing this since before the pandemic.
Since before,
absolutely.
Yeah. So and so when you guys told me that, I was like, well, you guys were just positioned well when this all happened, but you guys have been looking into this for schools and hospitals and all this kind of stuff long before this stuff happened.
Absolutely. We realized that absence days, missed work days, sick days from school, sick days from work, whatever it may be, that's lost revenue when it comes down to it for a company. You have people out, you're trying to figure out how to get good work days in. And so that's where this all started for us. It was how can we help schools get down on their sick days, amount of kids that are absent every day, and also in a work environment, whether it be whatever side of things, you can always have a better efficiency if you've got people in the office.
Okay.
And this is something that was not done just for COVID. Our range of bacterial strains and diseases and everything that this takes care of is enormous.
Right.
And this is everything from kids' locker rooms to dirty laundry rooms, maybe with a washer and dryer with the knobs backwards, or whatever it may be, and it provides a good opportunity for people to have a cleanly disinfected home to avoid all types of bacteria, not just the COVID-19 that we're facing nowadays.
Yeah, and to be upfront, there's not a disinfectant that can kill COVID. Right?
No, not at all. Yeah. There is nothing that kills COVID. I think I think we would all like to see that with all of the unfortunate loss and suffering that's come out of this year. But the reality is there is nothing that that can kill COVID on contact.
Well,
But
I mean, like the Lysol bottle says coronavirus on it, y'all. I believe it because it said it.
You know, and that's they were talking a few weeks ago that ivermectin also kills coronavirus. And if you've been around cattle, we talked about that earlier.
Yep.
Yeah.
We've all ingested enough of that stuff to be COVID free for the next 150 years.
Yep.
So there's a lot of marketing and play on words that, you know, other companies and products are using. We kind of decided to stand behind the science of it and really understand what product we use, what application we use, and really focus on the results, as opposed to just going out and saying, hey, we kill COVID because you know, we come to your house and disinfect, and we tell you and your family that you're safe, and you get something, and it was just due lack of diligence on our part. That's something that, you know, we as a company don't tolerate.
Yeah.
So we stand behind what we do, and, you know, the opportunity arose with COVID, and we saw other competitors do, you know, incredible jump in their price rates, and that's something we didn't do either. We had our procedures in place, our prices in place, and we just, you know, want to continue to focus to help families and businesses stay safe, and you know, continue and hopefully push through this pandemic. Because, you know, you mentioned earlier, even we would love to see it go away too, because what we do is far more intense than just COVID, different strains. But I'm sure we'd like to see businesses back open and people back to a little bit better normal way of life.
Yeah, that was one of the reasons I was really excited to talk to you guys, because I remember when all this stuff kind of kicked off, because we're in similar industries. I remember disinfectant companies reaching out to us saying, hey, you can use our product. And they were using really tricky language on some of these things where it's like, this kills the thing that causes COVID. And I'm like, that's not cool. You can't say stuff like that. I know that you're being like, you know, very legalese in your wording, but like people will take that to mean you can kill COVID.
Absolutely.
You know, and like that's just not right.
And it's rampant too. I mean, you see it all over the place, just from, you know, the way people's wording on, you know, different claims, websites, bottles, like you were saying, products. I mean, you know, what Billy Bob's selling out of the back of the truck down on 105, you never know, right? But it's
always Billy Bob.
It's always Billy Bob. But
That guy, he screwed me so many times.
gotta watch out for him.
That guy.
But, you know, it's really the thing is you have to believe in your product, and you have to be confident enough in your product to be able to tell people what it does truthfully, to not have to play those word games or to play those product, you know, decipher what I actually mean. Right. And that's one of the reasons, I'm sure we'll talk about it later in the show, but that's one of the things that we do is, you were talking about certain wipes or whatever that, you know, it kills it, right? You wipe it and it's gone, whatever. Well, there's no way of actually finding out how clean that surface is. And, you know, we did a little bit of a demonstration with y'all earlier, but through our testing, that's a big one for us. And I'm sure we'll get into that later on the podcast, but we stand by our proven results, and that's a huge thing for us.
Yeah, and so what are the main focuses of what you guys are doing? Are you guys going into homes that are occupied? Are you guys going into homes that are unoccupied? What is the main thrust of what it is you guys are you guys doing both?
Both. Yeah,
Okay.
We're doing both. Ideally, you know, we can go in before. You leave to go to work. Obviously, with it being your home, you're going to want somebody there,
Right?
Until you know the company you're working with. So we can do it occupied, pets in the room, this and that. Most of the time, we ask them, hey, if you put the dogs out back, that'd probably be best for for our sake, because we do with our sprayers and all that look a little intimidating. And
I mean, some dogs don't like that.
no, they don't. But no, they can be occupied, and also new builds for construction or move-ins, and even apartments up to that point. Anything residential. Whether you're moving in, moving out, or occupying it currently is something we can service.
Yeah. Well, and the part of the reason I ask that is I can imagine some people thinking, well, if you're using something strong enough, I probably need to pull like all my electronics out of the house. I need to pull, anything that's like leather or anything like that. Is that something that people need to do?
Not at all. And that's one of the great things about our product is it has a neutral pH balance, and through the electrostatic sprayers that we use, it actually provides a 360 degree coverage without being like a direct spray. Like, we're not coming through with a garden hose, right? I'm not going to douse down your computer and roll out the door and leave you on your own. This stuff, you can come in, you can spray it on TVs, as we go through, because that's the thing. You don't have to have a direct application through this electrostatic sprayer when it comes out charged. So everything around you has a certain charge to it. And so when you apply that electric charge, that ionic charge in the opposite from our sprayers, it naturally attracts. It's like two magnets, right? On the opposite ends. They come together. And so without having to sit there and douse it, we can do a complete coverage.
Okay.
And so with having that neutral pH balance as well, you can come across, if your kid's at home, has been doing the homeschool thing, or the remote from home, has his laptop open, come through, it'll disinfect the laptop and it won't fry anything, no problems, no issues. And that works for flooring, that works for maybe even if you have dishes left in the dishwasher, if you have, anything left out in the sink or anything, it's safe completely.
Okay. Yeah, so I don't need to like wipe my dishes off or something after you guys have been in the house.
Not at all.
Okay.
And we even, this is stuff that is so environmentally friendly the way it's based that in certain quantities, it can be even used in food prep.
Okay.
Services.
Wow.
So we focus on the residential side of things, but what that means is if you have a banana hanging out on your little banana hanger on your counter, you don't have to worry about coming through and getting that sprayed and then not being able to use your bananas anymore. Right.
Can somebody explain the banana hanger to me?
Oh, come on. You have to know what I'm talking about.
I know what it is, but I don't understand why.
Well, because here's the thing, Craig. Like, we need some soft music here for a moment because
do we need to like go back to our roots and feel like I'm plucking it from the tree? Is that what's going on?
No. The thing is, you go to the store. You get a yellow banana because they look great, and that's a good ripe banana. Like, I'm ready to eat it, and like 4 hours later, it's got brown spots on it, right?
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
Well, there's some things that you can do to keep that banana from going bad so quickly,
right?
And one of the things you can do is keep it open to all of the air around it and keep it hanging as if it were still on a tree. And so that keeps it from getting the brown spots so quickly.
But I want the brown spots.
Well, then you need to just put them back on the counter. I'm just saying,
if my kids get all the right bananas, I ain't getting banana bread.
Okay. No. So, but that's easy, right? You can just take a banana and put it in the freezer, and it's going to be good for banana bread after, because it goes brown really quickly at that point.
Like, what are these banana hangers? Like $10 or something?
I don't know.
Just leave it on the counter.
I don't know. Actually,
I used fruit bowl.
Yeah,
that would have been the better.
The banana is a pretty high maintenance fruit.
Well, but see, no. You don't need to go get a banana holder.
The banana's a diva. That's what we need to
do. Come on, just go get a hook from Home Depot and screw it into your cabinetry. It's like 14 cents for one of those things.
Or I can do nothing
and then get your brown spots
and get my
then
banana
you're happy.
bread. So
man, see, this is what he does. He derails.
It's important things that people want to know. Should I waste my money on a banana hanger? No.
Okay.
Get your banana bread.
Those J hooks from your tool cabinet outside work just as fine.
That's what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
If you have to hang it, fine. If not, use the bowl.
Hey.
Or like, they're the cheapest fruit in the grocery store. Go buy some more.
They are really cheap. There's no doubt about that. They are very cheap.
So,
but okay.
So buying bananas are disinfected.
Yeah, and so I think one of the questions I've got is I feel pretty good about myself whenever someone's sick in my house, and you go around, you Lysol the knobs, put the stuff, you wash the sheets and you mop the floors. You do all the things that you can, right?
You're talking about when people are sick in the house?
Yeah.
You do that?
Yeah.
Look at you.
Well, Kimberly does. But it gets done. But yeah, you clean your house, hopefully. Mm-hmm. Because you don't want your other children or you to get sick, and you don't want them to get sick again, right? You feel pretty good about yourself. The thing that I've always kind of thought, though, is like, how long does it take before, and let's just assume for a minute that what I did was really good. Okay. It killed a bunch of germs. Let's just assume for a moment that it did. How long before those things are infected again?
It would be the next time somebody who is infected comes into contact with that surface. So,
okay.
Or even as well, someone that has been around someone that might even be sick, right? You naturally carry bacteria and germs from other people that you may not even know, right? You go into the grocery store, you go into the hardware store or whatever it may be, and you're around those people because it's all in the air around you. You can bring that stuff home with you without even realizing it.
Yeah.
And so, it's always a dangerous risk of bringing that back with you and having a surface that is not, if there's clean and there's disinfected, and that sounds different, but you can wipe down your counter after somebody spills spaghetti on it, but if you disinfect it, you do a lot further steps. And so with disinfecting, with what we do, which I'm sure Chase is I'm going to lead into him about, but we actually attack the food source that prevents on those surfaces. So when you disinfect and get rid of that food source, if some new bacteria comes in, then it has something to feed on and can grow. But if you have starved it out, then that bacteria won't be able to foster and grow on your counter. So that's the idea behind what we do with our product, is we remove that ability for anything to survive, which your typical wipes or things like that are not really going to be focused on anything more than a topical or surface clean.
Yeah, so for example, you go back to you mentioned Lysol wipes, and it says on the bottle that it kills 99.9% of germs, right, or whatever. First of all, is that accurate? I mean, because you're what I'm hearing you say is that there's a difference in killing something and allowing something to grow behind it.
If you cut off the head of a weed, that weed is gone at that point. It's out of sight, out of mind. So you've essentially killed that weed. But if you go in and spray it with, weed killer, you take it away at the source. So that's kind of the difference there. Yeah, they do kill germs on contact at that time, but you're also leaving yourself open to, further contamination, because once it's clean, then the second the surface starts getting touched or comes into contact with any other thing that has been infected or other surfaces, then at that point those germs return.
I really like the analogy. That helps because I think that you're talking about a food source, and we were just talking about bananas, so I got a little bit crossed up in my mind a little bit. But you're talking about the thing that the bacteria feeds on and then grows from there,
exactly.
Right? Okay.
Well, and that might be a good opportunity to kind of talk about our doorknob, right? I mean, because you measured the doorknob before you treated it, and explain to us kind of like the whole process. Excuse me, the whole process there.
Sure. So when we walk into a home or location, the homeowner has 5 sites that we test for them. We do it through a luminometer, and what we're testing for is the presence of ATP, which ATP is a long scientific name, but for our sake in here, it's the food source for germs.
Okay.
So that's what we're testing with. And when we did y'all's door here, we do NDAs, so everything's private with all of our clients and customers. But
this is fine. You can share our data.
Y'all went in, and this is a very clean studio. I know y'all take a lot of pride in it, but you were.
Yeah, it's true. It's true, y'all. I mean, this place is clean.
But the fail scale, what they rate as hospital grade clean, is at a 100 on our testing scale.
Okay. And when you say that's like a surgery,
that's operating room.
Operating room.
Okay, yeah.
When you go in there, if you hit 100, like you're getting a knee replacement.
Okay.
Most of the places that we're seeing, we come into initially, they're in the 16, 17, 1800s.
So the higher the number, the worse.
The worse
right?
it is.
You want to get down as low as possible.
As low as possible.
So the complete opposite from school.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
It's like a golf score.
Okay.
Yeah. By our standards of testing, I would have been the valedictorian in high school.
Although I don't know my golf score would actually pass operating room levels if we're talking about 100 as being the passing level. But maybe on a good day,
you never know.
Yeah. You could beat me. That's no problem. I'm out there with like a pool cue.
And that circles back again to the standards that we set for ourselves, that we hold ourselves higher to a higher standard than what the industry does.
Right.
Most competitors we're seeing, they're in the 200 to 300s. They call disinfected. For us, 100 is that top fail scale, but we want every location that we apply our disinfectant to be below a 10.
Okay.
If it's above a 10, we retreat it and then retest. So we're actually coming in 10 times lower or 10 times cleaner Looking at you.
He's using finger quotes, y'all.
Yeah, he's pulling a Joey
I
over
don't know
here.
what to do with my hands.
I don't know the gesture.
So 10 times cleaner than what your operating room would be. And that's showing us that we've properly disinfected it. And with each application, we send you a graph that has the pre and post test results. So not only are we coming in spraying, but you're actually getting to see that what we've done applied and worked. All of our test units go straight to the cloud system.
Yeah.
So you're not going to see anything. Oh, we're going to alter this, do that. I mean, it's going straight to you. So, it's an honest testing.
Yeah.
And just another thing we can do to hold ourselves accountable to make sure that the, best service was rendered as possible.
Okay. And so when you tested our doorknob, it was at what? Would you say 1,600?
Over 1,600. We normally let the application sit for 5 or 6 minutes. Before we go back in. I think we did a little quicker than that and got y'all down to a 9.
A 9.
So if we were to get, test it again, it would probably be floating around that 2 to 0 range.
So like after you applied it, we were, am I getting that? We were like 10 times, the doorknob was 10 times cleaner than an operating room.
Correct.
That's crazy.
Yep. As far as the presence of the ATP on it and what bacteria can live off of.
So what that means is that at this point, that doorknob is at a place where bacteria is not going to be able to grow on it because it doesn't have anything on it for that bacteria to attach to.
Exactly. And after that first minute, the majority of the bacteria that causes stuff like, staph and COVID and, even the different strands of the flu, hepatitis, with the concentration that we use in our residential application, it's going to kill what that stuff can grow off and live off of within 1 to 2 minutes.
Okay.
And even canine parvo for the dogs in the room.
Ooh.
Oh, nice.
That's actually, that's a devastating disease to dogs.
It's horrible.
It's awful.
Horrible. So it's safe for, families, kids all around. I mean, even, daycares, toys, it's the first thing little kids want to do is pick up that block and, put it in their mouth.
Yeah.
So that's something being family oriented as we are, we got to do something that's safe for our kids and then our fur kids.
Yeah.
And trust me, among the company, there are a lot of dogs. Between all of us.
Nice.
So
Nice. Okay, so that brings me back to the question that I had earlier about the wipes, and you talked about the weeds, killing the weeds, all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So, again, going back to what you said, like I wipe down something, someone else touches it, and all of a sudden it's infected again. But with your application, since there's nothing for it to grow, how many touches does it have to go through for it to actually have enough on it for it to be dangerous again?
Mm-hmm. So what that really is going to come down to in the end as well is what other bacteria you have or what other deposits of that food source that you'll see. So that's why we recommend monthly sprayings, and depending upon the activities that are happening, potentially more than that, just to make sure. But really, it's about a 30-day window that we operate on, because when you think about it, so what we do is we remove the food source. So you can have a bacteria that is on a surface that someone's sick and comes back over, you're going to potentially have that bacteria on that surface. But instead of having it grow and being able to cross-contaminate and spread, that's when it starves it out, is because there's nothing for it to feed on. So you have different reaction times for different viruses. Some are stronger than others. I mean, we've seen all kinds of numbers coming out of the CDC regarding about a wide variety of different surfaces that have different last times for how long COVID can be on it, right? And whether it's a porous surface, non-porous surface, metal, whatever. So each individual, it's a hard answer to give you, because each individual, whether you're considering COVID-19 or hepatitis, or this even will do, like we're talking about staphylococcus, and like, say you had a bunch of, people in a locker room, right, at a gym, things like that. Yeah. And so it depends on what your source is and what's introduced to that source. But yeah, so essentially we have a higher removal of that protein source. Yeah. So that you can, which you can beat out for a longer amount of time than is recommended by, say, like some sort of disinfecting wipe.
Man, that's huge though, because like all of a sudden, I know that especially if I've got someone sick in my house, I realize the applications are way broader than that, and the reasons for it are way broader than that. But specifically, if I've got someone sick in my house, I know that house has been disinfected to a level to where we've eliminated the problem. The problem is gone, at least in my house. And once you get out of your house, obviously we got other issues. But even if you bring those back in, for a while, I'm still good.
You're still way better protected than you would be with any kind of off the shelf or any other kind of application that you would typically have around your house or in the cabinet or under the sink.
And to kind of put that into perspective, like you were talking about being safe and in and out, school districts, especially here in the Houston area, using the application, we're noticing between 25 and 30% decrease in absences.
Wow.
So you're talking, it's the mega schools y'all have in this area with thousands of students.
Yeah.
And even other customers we have with 400 or 500 employees are noticing. So when you start looking at, 400 people go out, they go here, it just multiplies. So you take a family of 5 or 6. I think it's actually giving you a bigger, parachute to be
the results
safe.
are better.
Exactly. Because you have so few sources of contamination with just a smaller family as well.
Wow, man. It's just really impressive to me because I think on some level, those of us who we clean our house regularly, we vacuum, we mop, we dust, we do all those things. And then on top of that, we do the things that, our friends over at Affordable Air Repair, shout out to Jehu and Jojo over there, is that we're changing our air filters because that makes a big difference too. And that we're doing all of the things, and yet there's a huge gap even in all of that.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's huge that it doesn't just fix the problem now. It fixes the problem in perpetuity, at least for a time. Mm-hmm. Right.
Correct. Yeah. And it's nice to have that peace of mind, right? You know that, I come in and I spray your house. We've had people that have asked us to come in and spray right before, post. They have someone that has been to the hospital or who has been to, maybe a knee replacement, whatever it may be. But people that come in and say, hey, we're going to be coming back from the hospital. We don't know what we could be bringing with us.
Yeah.
Will you please come in and disinfect? And that way it gets rid of any risk that's there. And then it also comes in and protects us with whatever we may be bringing back with us.
Yeah, man, I got a buddy right now. Craig and I are friends with a guy who just had kind of an emergency surgery, and his doctor basically told him, look, there were some complications that could have happened if we didn't do this surgery now. And he wound up with a PICC line for 2.5 weeks, something like that. And he's having to go back for daily infusions. But the doctor basically said, look, you cannot get COVID because if you get COVID, you're exponentially more susceptible to bad things, right?
Yeah, the immune system's probably already down.
Yeah. Exactly. He had to stay away from people, and he's not the type of person that in his job he can stay away from people very easily. And so he had to stay at home, and it's just he and his wife. But I would imagine that if he knew about this, I guarantee he would have done it. Because again, we're talking about like a life and death type of thing. If you wind up getting sick and your immune system is so far gone, man, that's really scary to think about. And to know that there's something out there that can remedy it, or at least almost remedy it, that's huge. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, and that makes me think. I mean, because I know you guys have like a commercial side to what you guys do, but on the residential side, because we're kind of talking about like schools and workplace and homes and all these. Have you guys done anything with this, like assisted living or nursing homes or anything like that?
So right now, what we've seen predominantly. Sorry, I didn't mean to jump in front of you, Chase. But what we've seen is there are very heavily restricted protocols,
right? Yeah,
assisted living. Because quite honestly, right in the beginning of the pandemic, what did we see get hit the hardest?
Yeah,
it was nursing homes, long-term care facilities.
Couldn't even come in.
Yeah, right. And so a lot of that is still one of the issues on their protocols is preventing outside sources of any kind. Sadly, even if it could be of assistance, it's one of those. It's a very big safeguarding because they're watching their employees very closely as to what they're doing. And so because they are trying to minimize risk, that's where they're coming for. We would love to get the opportunity to do it. We would love to find a place that has the protocols that allows us to come in because, again, we have a testing system, we have a product that we believe in, and we've seen very, very good results with it so far.
So part of the reason I'm asking is because next week, barring any other complications, we have a guy coming in that owns several assisted living facilities, and he's going to be talking to us about like 2020, basically, how his year was basically a nightmare, and he had 0 cases in all of his facilities, and he's going to be walking us through all of his protocols and what they did in order to stay safe. So I mean, I feel like that's relevant to what we're talking about. I mean, because what you're saying is absolutely, he's talked to me about this. I mean, it's been ridiculous for him to manage his staff and watch out for his residents and protect them and try and keep them safe so that he doesn't have an outbreak.
Right. I mean, so my grandmother is actually in a retirement community, not a long-term care facility. They have different levels of living at this facility, right? So you have assisted living, independent living, your own homes, apartments, whatever. And that was a crazy thing, right? My birthday was at the beginning of March, so I saw her for my birthday, and then the world shut down.
She was
right, and so you could not. I'm telling you, you could probably hit Fort Knox easier than you could get into this retirement.
I think that's the way most of them, at least the ones that are operating well, have been.
Mm-hmm. And so that's the thing is, I know that their protocols for that, which I have heard are very common among it, is they actually opened up a lot of their unrented apartments or rooms at that facility and had their staff stay in very much a
Don't leave.
Imagine like the oil field, right? 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, right? Let's figure out a way to where you can stay on, you're not a risk, you can leave, and then you can come back in quarantine before you're around the people who live here. And I think that's been, I mean, the schedules and the restrictions that those employees, I mean, they're champions, they're heroes. I mean, it's amazing what they're doing to make sure that they don't bring anything in.
For sure.
Yeah.
And that's the craziness is, and that's the thing with outside sources that we're talking about. They are so limited on how you can get access. This is going to be a question for us to ask Sean next week, dude, is like, because he's in a different situation
for sure
as far as assisted living go. I mean, he's not under any government mandate. He receives no, Medicaid or anything like that. It's all, everybody pays up front. It's
private
thing. It's private. So he might actually have an access point that's different. I think we should ask him that question.
Yeah.
And, we've come across companies like that and even homes like that who, are interested in our services and, or for one reason or another aren't.
Right.
And we talk to them and say, hey, we'd love to come in and test just to show what you're doing is working. And in that case like him, who's coming on next week, if he had absolutely 0 cases with as crazy as this was, especially in this area of the state, then he's doing something right that every other care facility needs to hop on board with.
That's for sure.
And we have no problem coming in and say, look, we can come spray for you, but you're doing awesome here. So that's really impressive and awesome to hear that somebody got it figured out.
He's a cool. I mean, what is the fancy doodad that you use to test our doorknob? What is that thing?
It's our luminometer. Say it 5 times.
That sounds cultish.
Luminometer.
But that's what it's doing. And the swabs that we do, we test the surface. It breaks.
Okay.
We pop the end off, and there's all kinds of science going on in here.
Point to that camera right there. Oh, there you go. There it is.
It does the hard work.
There's that thing from the Illuminati.
But so, I mean, that's like Chase was saying, that's one of the things is like, look, if you are feeling comfortable, we would love to come in. Say you feel like your practices are good, up to par. You know, like we're talking about for the sister. There's a sister company that does the commercial side that you were talking about. So we have access to that as well for industrial, and that's a lot of the doctor's offices, dental offices, things like that.
What is it? What is that actually? What is that? What I guess what I'm getting at is what differentiates that side of it from this side of it. What we're talking about
the industrial, corporate side of stuff, and
we're talking like warehouses,
commercial applications. It's everything, warehouses, this and that. What we've developed on the residential side is our solution content because we're able to control that.
Right.
It's on a smaller scale than commercial.
Okay.
Obviously, if we went in and did a 50,000 square foot warehouse, our content that we're using to make sure it's properly disinfected. If we did that in a house, I don't think anything would come back for years. Wow. And so we're able to control our dilution content.
And what do you mean by smaller scale? You mean like smaller equipment or? Okay.
Exactly.
It's not like you're using stronger disinfectants in the commercial side.
Higher traffic areas. Like we said, you have a family of 6. That's really basically the only people dwell in there. You go to a bigger company and you have thousands in and out. Mm-hmm. It's just the contact areas are so much more significant there.
Okay. And then I guess my follow-up to that is, and maybe a little bit of a rabbit trail, but where do you guys see homeowners making the biggest mistakes when it comes to keeping their homes, as clean or as safe as possible in the manner that you guys would come in and test and go, okay, this is.
I think what you're facing a lot is there's a lot of misinformation that's out in the environment, right? Everyone has the next big product. Everyone has, when you go to the grocery store, you've got all kinds of cleaners, but you don't know the job that they're doing. I mean, we've come behind, we were talking about it earlier. We've come behind, these wipes you can pull out of a can and wipe on a counter.
Not that we'd name anybody.
No, right? Yeah, exactly.
Lysol.
You're all buying it. We know what it is.
Exactly. And you still see numbers that are, in the 400s, right? So I think that
you're talking about the ATP numbers?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So
I like what you did there, Craig. I like it. He retained something. That was awesome.
That was good.
That was awesome.
I'm learning.
Through.
All right, go ahead.
But so I think that a lot of what you deal with is because these products don't actually give you a fair understanding of what you're dealing with or how that they work. I think there's an issue with lasting protection from lack of frequency. Now I know that was a lot all at once, but all I'm saying is how often do you wipe down your counters with a wipe, right? You might do it once a week. I don't know, maybe after a messy meal. Mm-hmm. So that product's not designed to have that lasting effect like ours is. So when you combine a product that is not meant for a purpose of long lasting and not paired with frequency, you have that lack of first of all, you don't get as good of a disinfecting as our product. And then on the back end of it, you don't get the protection that you would get from ours. Using just a standard commercial product.
And I think especially after the year we had, anybody who was not a germaphobe is now a germaphobe. So, somebody who'd never clean or do any of this is doing that. So I think on top of that application, it's just where you wiping down.
Yeah.
You're just doing what you can see versus, the 360 degree wrap and the binding that we have with our application. Cause we're social guys. We like to be out. We like to talk to people. And so it's really to no fault of anybody's own that they don't have access to this. And it's cool seeing people light up when they see the science behind what we're doing and show them those results. Cause it was cool. The first time we had a test come up, we were all blown away. We're like, this is the coolest thing.
Yeah.
We're scientists.
Well, I think that people have a weird false sense of security too.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think people are like me, like, oh, I sprayed all the knobs. I mopped the floor. I changed my air filter. I did the smart things. I changed the sheets, right? And there's this false sense of security of I've done everything I can. And part of the reason I think we feel that way is because that's the only thing that we know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. I mean, right. I'll tell you right now that the best thing that anybody could do right now is listen to this podcast and find out something that they didn't know before.
Right. And I mean, even to go back to what we were talking about, doing all the right things, you can do all the right things and not realize that things are getting overlooked. Right. So that's what Chase was hinting at on that 360 degree coverage. Because of the specialty sprayers that we use, you get into those areas that you don't ever think of, right? Like say that lip on the underside of your sink in between the metal and the granite, right? Do you get under there with the wipe and clean it down? Maybe not.
That's gross under there. I don't want to touch that.
Exactly. And bacteria is growing there, right?
Yeah, so of course.
Let us come and help take care of that problem for you. But I mean, even into, you start thinking down in between. I mean, how often do you open a cabinet door, right? Do you ever clean the back of the cabinet knob? That's a place that you touch every time, or the back side of a door handle. You wipe down the door handle, you kind of might be flying through the house, maybe company's coming over and you've got an hour to clean before someone shows up.
Yeah.
You know, you might hit that topically, but with this application that we provide, you're getting coverage behind the TV stand, in the grout on your tile floor, in between the cracks on your hardwood floor. You know, I mean, all these places that when you use a topical cleaner that you can find at a grocery store, that you're just not getting those clean, and they are areas that bacteria can grow because there's stuff to feed on. Because I mean, you think you walk through your floor, you know, walk through barefoot after being outside with the dogs, who knows what you bring in, right? So,
well, but you still okay.
Worms. Don't walk outside barefoot. That's what it is. It's worms,
no doubt. But I also want to be kind of careful here, because that doesn't mean you shouldn't clean your house.
Absolutely should still clean your house.
Because I think that
if you spray disinfectant on filth,
once a month he's going to come in here and clean my house.
And that's part of the misconception that we have, and that the majority of America has, is clean versus disinfected. You know, clean is visibly removing, you know, stuff from the surface. You know, if there's something on the table, I wipe it, it's clean. Now, disinfected, going in and removing the bacteria and the germs and all that. Growing up little, my mom's like, "Did you clean your room?" "Yes, ma'am." "Is it my clean or your clean?" So I think, you know, I'll be back. Let me go.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of the same thing.
Heard that today.
Yeah. But your knobs are perfectly aligned. Your knobs work.
just the wrong color.
No, I didn't even do the smart thing and like change the knobs. I just changed the hoses. I'm going to screw someone else who comes to my house next.
It's the next guy's problem.
But no, I think it is something to be said for. I mean, you still need to be wiping those things down. You still need to be mopping your floor. You still need to be, you know, dusting your blinds and all of those sorts of things.
Definitely.
Right?
Yeah.
So
proper hygiene.
yeah.
Well, and part of the reason I wanted to bring up some of that is because, like, I mean, like, you guys clearly understand some of the science of how bacteria works, you know, and like, because I can remember, like, you're talking about back in March when this thing hit, I can remember going to the grocery store and people are wearing, you know, neoprene gloves and masks, and now they're just wearing masks, and it's like, okay, that's fine, but like in my work, like, I wear gloves doing everything. I don't want anything. I mean, like, this is a high absorption area, you know, and like nobody's doing that anymore. They're going up and they're touching the shopping carts and all this other kind of stuff. And now it's like, well, no gloves, but double mask. And it's, you know, and it's like, it's all this weird
target.
stuff that, like, it doesn't seem like there's any sort of science behind it. I'm not saying that there isn't. It's just, it's like, we're constantly moving the goalpost as to what's good. And you guys are telling me, well, we actually have this thing that can measure the thing that feeds bacteria, and we can reduce that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you're absolutely right. It's a moving target. I think that's one of the reasons why we've seen so many kind of types of information, right? When you go and dig for buried treasure, you're going to have to dig more than one hole, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to find it on the first try. So that's part of this problem is, I think, you know, each and every day we have new information coming out. The CDC's, you know, busting it to try and find what they can. And I think with each new day and new information coming, the parameters change, right? So when parameters are constantly changing, you're doing your best to figure out what it is. But that has been something that has amazed me, that you're talking about going to the grocery store. I mean, yes, because you talk about it in your line, you wear gloves. We do too.
Yeah.
I get it. Like, look, not going to happen on my end. I'm going to do what I can. But you have so many people that, I mean, it's things you don't even think about that you didn't have to think about beforehand, right?
Yeah.
You used to go to the grocery store and pick up the pen on the keypad to sign your name after paying with a credit card. Did you ever think about how many thousands of people had touched that before you used it?
I'm thinking about it every single time now.
Yep.
Which have y'all seen that thing that they're selling in grocery stores now? It's like what is it called?
The no touch thing.
The no touch thing.
Talking
Yeah.
about the germ key.
Yes, the germ key. That's
I
what
think
it is.
I saw one at HEB.
They're like $7 or something like that, and it's
Got
like
like
so you
a
don't have to
hook on
touch
it.
anything.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about that for just a minute, because I think this is really important, because I've seen multiple articles. Who knows if they're, you know, the validity of these things are actually accurate, but I've seen multiple articles at this point that have said that there have been 0 cases connected to surfaces and contraction of coronavirus. Okay. Now, I don't really care whether or not that's accurate or not. What I care about is that doesn't present a complete story. Because let's say it's true. Let's say that nobody has that they've not at least proven that, let's just say it's true, that if I touch something, I didn't get coronavirus from that. However, let's say that I touch something and, then wipe my eyes or whatever it is, and now I get sick with something else, whether it's the flu, whether it's, you said hepatitis, whatever it is, I get some other thing, and then someone coughs on me and I get coronavirus. Now I have a pre-existing condition
you're high risk.
that complicates coronavirus in my body, right? So I think that there's a little bit of misinformation out here that we have to be careful about, just reading things, pun intended, surface level, that that we're not really seeing the story behind the story. And so, again, protecting yourself from some of those pathogens to begin with is really, really important, I think. So
it's like wearing a seatbelt. I mean,
yeah.
What's the odds of getting in a wreck? What's the odds of doing this? I mean, you have your seatbelt on.
If you were in Fort Worth, it was highly.
Oh, I know,
man,
that was awful.
Absolutely
Holy
horrible
cow.
today.
It was like 100-car pileup?
It was a 100-car pileup. Last I heard, the death toll was 8, and
Jeez.
they still haven't gotten to all the wreckage.
No,
So they don't really know. It's absolutely. And there was a pileup in Austin.
Was there?
There was another one.
Like a 30-car pileup, right?
I believe it's getting icy there. So hopefully everybody stays home. I mean, friends from the east and everywhere in the snow, they like to give us heck, but it's like, we are not equipped for this.
No,
right?
So stay home.
All right, I derailed. So you're saying you wear a seatbelt.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like you mentioned, getting, having the flu, having some kind of respiratory issue, and then COVID comes along and this and that. It's just, you want to protect yourself.
Yeah.
It's like when all this started, particularly with COVID, like if you're elderly, if you have heart conditions, this and that. I mean, we know people who've passed away that were healthy as a horse.
Right.
And then in 2 weeks, they're gone. And then same way. So it's just the age of information, especially with cell phones, everybody's an expert now.
Yeah.
The way it pops up. But I think it can be used both in a good way and a bad way. So, informing yourself and keeping you and your family as safe as possible is, obviously the way you want to do it.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. And, we talk about this. It seems like every episode that we do is just, we want to get this information out to people. Mm-hmm. And that's why we do what we do. We want to equip people with information. And I think we've done that today. Is there anything that we haven't hit that's important?
Well, I've got something.
Okay.
I kind of want to know what your onboarding is like. I mean, how do you guys come in and do a lot of testing in the home first? I mean, what is it like to set up an account for you guys to come into a home and evaluate, and then I guess treat?
Yeah. So, one thing we do, we service, obviously the Houston area, and we're all across Texas, Dallas, Fort Worth, San Antonio, Austin.
So you guys have branches in all those?
Houston. Okay. Yes. And we're open, Monday through Sunday, 7:30 to 5:30. If it's after hours and you have a COVID positive outbreak, we're getting there within hours.
Okay.
But you can visit our website. That's a great way. It's www.livingsafeathome.com. You can reach out to us on our company line is 512-917-1113. You call that line, you send us an email. You have a technician follow up with you. It'll be Matt, myself, or a few other awesome guys we have. We're all certified, application technicians. And we'll come out to you. So if you call and say, hey, I want you to come take a look at my house, we'll come out, set a time that works with you, do a few tests in areas of your choosing. And at that point, we can disinfect your home. And based on your readings, kind of what we recommend, if you obviously are up in the tens of thousands, we might say, hey, let's look at, we'll come back in 2 weeks and check, make sure it's working.
Yeah.
At that point, we'll see you next month, or, we might need to do it more frequent or not, but a lot of the times we'll be there within 24 hours of your call, unless it's an emergency.
Okay.
We help it to get there.
I mean, is 10,000? That's a ridiculously high number.
10,000's high. I think the highest I've seen, and we've been doing this for 18 months now, I think was 17,000.
Okay.
And that was the bottom of a of my boot after we were working cows because we were trying to get baselines. And, we don't know, but obviously,
what's the ceiling on this thing?
We're not eating off that, but I mean, you'd be amazed. The phones are the highest. Okay. Because they're touched so much, but I think other than that, we've seen
a pretty decent amount in the 3s and 4,000s.
Okay,
that's places that are pretty frequently visited or high traffic areas. I mean,
microwaves, refrigerators, stuff like that.
Don't get me started on microwaves. I hate microwaves.
Please don't get him started on microwaves.
If you put your banana in, though, they'll brown up faster.
I'm never going to live that down. Watch me have a new nickname at work tomorrow.
The last thing you want is a name Banana Boy.
Yeah.
That's the last thing you want.
I know.
It could be Nanner Pudding.
It's true.
I might actually prefer that.
All right. Might be a good Facebook poll.
That's true.
I'm no longer, what was it, Ron White's tater and tater salad? Now
Nanner pudding.
Nanner pudding. We'll see what it winds up as.
Right.
You'll have to let me know the results.
That's right. So, based on what you just said, I've got another question. How do you price things? Is it square footage? Is it number of rooms? Is it how do you go about determining what you have to charge?
It's going to be square footage per home.
Okay.
So I mean, if we went with a flat rate, it could be all over the board. So square footage there. Now, if you call, everybody, lives together in communities now, subdivisions and this and that. If you're interested and we come, obviously while we're there, we can give you a bigger price break the more we test and do. So,
right.
But it is normally square footage and it's a rough estimate. We're not in there with the ruler,
sure,
making sure that your 2,500 is not 2,602, something like that.
Well, and then because you mentioned this just a second ago, you call and you got a positive COVID test in the home. Like, what are y'all's protocols to keep y'all's guys safe?
With all the proper protocols, all of our PPE, we've got the smogs, mask, covers completely, and then after that, it's disposed of.
Oh, okay.
So are you
guys using like the canister?
Yeah. Everything that cover, and it's not for our disinfecting, but it's just for the fact that we're going into a COVID positive environment. So, everything we can do to protect our guys. We shed all the layers there, put it in bags, and it's gone.
Okay.
And that's something that, we do ask, has there been anybody COVID positive here, just because we want to keep our guys safe going in.
Sure.
Just as well as, we don't want to be going in if, somebody was exposed on our end. So we're tested regularly, just to ensure that our guys.
And that's good to know. I mean, because like if you've never been around somebody who's been in a suit like that or in breathing apparatus like that, I mean, it can be sort of just a little scary.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. It's definitely like the Outbreak movie. Like you like, oh, what,
where are you putting that on?
What is going on? It's like walking down your neighborhood and seeing your neighbor with like a tinted house for like termites.
Yeah,
you're like, oh, that's going on. Who are these people?
Things got serious.
Yeah, and it's all about like we said, it's all about making sure that the utmost safety is taken for the people, our clients that we are coming in and providing this service for, and then as well as us and all the people that do the spraying with us.
Yeah.
So
cool. And that's good. I mean, like you gotta have the right protocols in place to protect your people, because like you don't want to. That's always been my biggest fear with what we do, is like I don't want to be somebody that spreads this.
Right.
Yeah. I don't want that on my conscience. I mean, like, and I know that's kind of a selfish thought. Like, I don't want that on my conscience, but like, you just don't want to be that guy.
Right. And that's, and I know we talked about it, but I don't know how heavily we hit on it. That's one of the greatest things about our application system as well, right? It's no touch.
Right.
Right. So there is no cross contamination. Yes, we're coming in with gloves and mask and everything covered, but if you have, say you have some janitorial service that comes in, right? Mm-hmm. They might be wiping off somebody's desk in an office building, say, right? And then they move to the next office, and what are they going to clean that desk with? Probably the same rag.
Yeah.
So that's cross-contamination, and that's what we're trying to fight against.
Right.
So if we have a no-touch policy, that's, our application process is one of the things that we pride ourselves on, is that there's not going to be cross-contamination.
Yeah.
So there's we have eliminated the risk of that by making sure that we aren't having anything that's coming back with us or vice versa or however.
Now, is it no touch policy in the sense that you guys are wearing gloves to like get through doors, or you guys have the homeowner go through and open up all the doors for you? Or
so for the doorknobs, we'll go through and that's the gloves for us.
Okay.
But as far as actual,
which that counts,
yeah, it would be awfully cumbersome and intrusive for us to tell, homeowners, hey, when we come here, all of the doors and everything has to be unlocked and around. Yeah. That's one of the things too, right? Is we cover both sides, everything in depth covered. And so in that instance, yes, we have glove coverage, but it more of what I mean by that is the prevention of cross-contamination from like surface to surface. So, if you come in and clean one surface that has it, you're not taking it to multiple other places and making the problem worse throughout your home.
Right. And that's the beauty of using a mist instead of, or a sprayer rather than a rag. That's one of the beauties of doing that. And also, you mentioned that ideally the homeowner wouldn't be home just so that you would be able to, not really be intrusive. They can go about their day, you can do your job, and nobody has to kind of be in the middle of things.
Exactly. Right? And for the most part, places we'll go in, we'll meet technicians, we'll talk to the homeowner, and they'll sit out in the driveway and play basketball. Yeah. Go for a walk at the park. But obviously I'm not going to let somebody in my home with everything unless I know who they are and what they're there for. That's with pest control, air duct stuff, all that. I want to meet them, and I stay close. So we know there's varying degrees with clients that we have. So we make it work for them. If they want to follow us room to room, we'll tell them, hey, put this on, follow us.
There you go.
No, we don't recommend it, but I'm sure y'all, that's exactly.
Well, would it be better for, say the homeowner has a home cleaning service, would it be better for that home cleaning service to come in after you guys have disinfected or before?
We've followed up behind services like that before, and what we've noticed is the numbers are still high. Now,
that doesn't mean that they're doing a bad job.
No, it doesn't. It's just
because they're cleaning the surface,
not disinfecting.
Right.
Exactly.
We're different.
Exactly. So I would say it doesn't matter either way. Us coming in after, them doing their stuff. There's not a whole lot of contamination going on with the cleaning service, and once we're applied, then. I would probably say us after.
Yeah, you can have it ideal. Cleaned and then have it disinfected. Yeah, because they're different.
No, it's a good distinction to make. So, one of the other things that really intrigued me when I first started talking to you, Matt, was you were talking about how you guys are doing this on new construction homes.
Yeah,
and that hadn't even crossed my mind. But as I started to think about it more, I was like, that makes perfect sense because right now, the most a house has had any people in it is going to be a new construction home.
Right.
But because most homes that are lived in, just have the families. They don't have people coming in for the most part. But like a new construction home, you've had tons of crews working through there. And I don't want to be disparaging any construction crews, but like you go to work if you're sick. You know what I mean?
You don't get a day off.
No.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. There's you have in the completion of a new build, and throughout the entire process, quite honestly, you have a lot of people that are rolling through. And that's one of the ideas behind offering that service is that, like we've talked about, is that peace of mind.
Yeah.
You have, because often you'll have times that, in following up to your question, home builders will have maybe a maid service or somebody or whatever clean up. But you want to be able to move. You spend all this time and effort, and especially how often it's happening now because of the pandemic and the housing market the way it is. You've got all these people moving into houses, or even if it's not a new build, even if it's someone's moved out,
right,
and you're moving in, but the house has been there for 15 years. It's new occupant. How about that?
Yeah.
It's a great service to offer because when you come in, that it's been taken care of and that you can feel comfortable in your new home.
Yeah. Well, and I would imagine, and the reason my brain goes here is because, if I buy a used iPhone off of Facebook Marketplace or, Craigslist or something I think I would expect it to have a certain number of germs and things on it. Right. Whereas if I buy a new construction home, I think in my brain, I'm going, this is a brand new home. Yeah. It should be perfectly clean. which is the complete opposite of what's probably true. And I know this because I've been through a lot of brand new homes and like, you know.
Well, yeah, because I mean, I'm sure that y'all do a lot of the same service in new homes as well.
Yeah. And so like a new home can actually be one of the more dirty places, you know, and so like, I don't want people walking in, and one, because I know the housing market is just like lit up right now, and people are looking to buy brand new homes rather than lived in homes. And so I don't want them to go into that situation with a false sense of security going like, this is fine, I don't need to have it disinfected. No, you probably do.
More than
We
most.
would recommend
More than most,
We
yeah.
would recommend it. Yeah.
That's again stuff that we didn't know. Right.
Yeah.
And so I really appreciate y'all coming by and talking to us, because so often we think we're doing a good job. It goes back to my story at the very beginning. I mean, you think you're having a good day, like you think you're doing this life thing pretty well, right? And then something,
the Kevin principle.
Exactly. That's actually yes.
All right.
But it just slaps you in the face. He's like, you're a freaking idiot. You don't know anything. And this is one of those things that, I think we've, like you said, we've taken it for granted for too long. And, we've talked about what are the ramifications going to wind up being long-term with this. So once, let's say we get COVID under control, masks are off, we're kind of good again, but the ramifications are out there. I mean, people are going to be hyper aware of that PIN at the cash register for a long time. And, it's just one of those things that we're going to live with. But, the thing that I love is that this was not a opportunistic thing that y'all talked about. I mean, y'all were already doing this and doing it well even before all this happened. It's amazing that the businesses, Craig and I've talked about this before. It's amazing the businesses that have thrived through COVID are the service industry. The service industry, largely in part, has really thrived through COVID, and y'all's has to have thrived really because of it, which really sucks. It sucks that it's had to, but it's good for y'all. But man, I just really appreciate a really good service opportunity, and giving our folks an idea out there that there's more that they can do to stay safe. Well,
absolutely.
I mean, I think the country has taken a mental shift because I think being in y'all's business, the fear might be that like it's going to dwindle once COVID kind of subsides a little bit. I don't think that's going to happen at all. I think people are going to remain conscientious of this kind of stuff, and look back at this as like, we don't want to go through that again.
No. And as, like I said, we hope COVID goes away.
Right.
But
100%.
Staff is still going to be there. Parvo's still going to be there with your dogs. And it has made people aware. The best thing we do is wake up tomorrow and all this was a crazy dream.
Yeah. I mean, if you guys can stave off staff, I mean, that's an incredible, like when you start talking about like operating rooms and other places where you can pick that, because staff is everywhere.
Yeah.
And if you can help prevent that from, latching itself onto people, that thing's nasty.
Yeah, I mean, you think about locker rooms and gyms and all kinds of stuff like that. I mean, it is actually somewhat when you dive into it, it's actually somewhat terrifying as to like, oh my God, there's a lot of things out there. Right?
Well, I remember, being in athletics whenever I was, in school, and it's like the biggest thing is the athlete's foot, right?
Yep.
And like all of these things, and it's like, I was like scared to death I was going to get athlete's foot. I'm like, because then I'm going to be like Quasimodo all of a sudden somehow, but it's out there.
Yeah. And that's what's, for us moving forward, like we said, there's so many applications for this, and being able to help, you even just think about just back to flu, right? This can help with flu. And I mean, how many times did you have people calling in sick with the flu before the pandemic happened? You don't think about it the same way as you think about the pandemic and COVID.
There's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can cut down a lot of that problem even if COVID doesn't exist anymore. Right?
Yeah.
So there's a longevity to it in the services provided and what it can help to continue to protect you against in the future.
Yep.
Wow.
That's good stuff. So did you learn a lot, Kev?
Man, I'm learning all kinds of things recently. But yes, I really did. It's awesome. But I'm ready to learn a little bit more.
Ooh.
Are you ready to learn more, Craig?
Absolutely.
Because we're about to move into the segment that everybody's been waiting for.
Favorite segment.
The Final Four.
The Final Four.
That's right. So these are the final 4 questions that we ask each and every one of our guests. We're glad y'all are here because y'all are newbies. And so what we're going to do is we're going to ask you guys these 4 questions. And, Matt, we'll just start with you and then let you go behind him. But here we go. We're going to start off with the very first question. What is the must-have tool that you won't leave your house without?
I would say, are you talking about like carry on you or like have in your truck?
Well,
Yeah.
the way we set this question up is, say Kevin calls you
Yeah.
and says, Matt, I need you to come over and help me with this, and gives you no idea what the job is. What's that one tool?
You're going to grab on the way
out the door.
On the way out the door, you're going to grab it because you know that I can do some damage with that thing.
Ooh, I would have to say for me, this is probably going to be a lame answer, but I'm old school on it. Craftsman multi-tool. There's a lot you can do with it.
Yeah.
I think that's my go-to. I carry one in my truck everywhere I go. I mean, I'm fortunate enough to have a truck that has like a tool cabinet, so I'm overly prepared for a lot of things.
When you say multi-tool, do you mean like the Leatherman kind of?
The Leatherman, yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
Because there's an electric multi-tool that's like
Now old school, fold it open,
I like
pull
it.
it out, scar your fingers up trying to get the tool out you need, and go to town.
Cool.
all right.
You're up, man.
All righty.
Did he take your answer?
Oh, is it?
No, you're up.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's
Same
you.
question.
I was gonna say my multi-tool.
Of course you are.
I can do some pretty good work with the Sawzall.
There you
So
go.
if you call me and say, "Hey, I got a project," if you can't saw it, then I don't want to do it. So
There you go.
give me my cell phone to call somebody who
You
knows
know
what
what,
they're doing.
Chase? When I call you from now on, I'm going to clarify that I don't need a demolition project, but I need help putting something back.
We moved my grandmother's sofa out in record time, but not in
One piece.
187 piece sofa.
Yeah.
I can't get it through the door. I got just the tool.
All I need is to install my refrigerator, man. But we can install it anywhere you want to.
You want it on that wall or that wall?
That's exactly
Or that
right.
wall right there. I'll just take the whole thing down.
Whichever one you want. We're ready. All right, man. Next question. What is a job you walked away from? So let me set this up for a minute because we wrote this.
We're terrible writers.
We're terrible writers because we meant something than what we wrote. But what we wrote was, what's a job you walked away from? Most people, you hear that, you think career, like a job that you hated, you move somewhere else. And that's fine if you want to go that direction. But what we meant was more like, what's a project that you walked away from at your house? Maybe you started to do a plumbing job and it just, sewage everywhere. And you're like, gotta call Joe the plumber, whoever. So what's a job you've walked away from, Matt?
I'm going to take it down the road of home improvement project. We are on the homeowner show. So let's do that. I am extremely stubborn when it comes to projects, so I'm going to figure out a way to do it on most. But man, I have to tell you, landscaping. I respect people to a T that can do that because every time I have tried to do it, and in that is sprinkler systems.
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
That's
Yeah.
part of the wrapped in project
Yeah.
for me of that. But man, I got respect for him because every time I get it completed, it just
It doesn't work right.
look like it should.
Yeah.
So I think for me, that's a walkaway project.
How long did you spend on the sprinkler system before you brought somebody in?
I gotta tell you, when I started watering my neighbor's lawn, I was a little bit concerned. You turn on the water sprinkler system and you hear on the other side of the fence going, I didn't know that was possible.
Yeah.
So too long is the answer to that.
All right.
Before.
So you're over there, you turn on your water sprinkler and all of a sudden you hear, thank you.
Yeah, right. Especially in Houston in the summers, right?
Yeah.
That'll
Kidding.
add up. Please continue. Don't change it.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, maybe turf is the way for me to go in the future. So
Hey, I am seeing more and more of those.
I gotta tell you, in the heights down where I am, it's all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everywhere. That and painted concrete is making a return, which
yes.
is
Oh,
like
yeah.
I'm too clumsy for that. I'll trip
Yeah.
and fall and bust a tooth out trying to let my dog out in the night. Right? So maybe turf, not concrete.
Painted concrete mullets are back in play.
yeah.
Nothing makes sense.
Nothing makes sense. Yeah.
It's a
pandemic
topsy-turvy
year.
world.
That's right. right, Chase, what about you? What's a job you walked away from?
Well, I can do kind of the career one since Matt did homeowner,
Okay.
but I worked at Chick-fil-A for about 38 minutes.
Wow. 38 minutes.
I didn't even learn how to clock in.
Wow.
I wasn't fired.
Technically, you didn't work there.
They owe me back pay for about 15 years. No, but I walked in and went to the back to watch my little video of how to, because they've got great customer service, how to be nice. Just walking through that smell of chicken and I couldn't handle it. And I'm around cattle, we're around all kinds of stuff, but that chicken.
Was it the fry smell? Or
It was the fry smell. Yeah, it was just something hit me weird. And I went to the man. I was like, sorry. I was like, what do you mean? Sorry. I was like, I'm leaving.
I'm out.
Like,
I'm out.
I will eat here. I will not work here.
I love Chick-fil-A. Nothing but the best to say, but it wasn't for me. Food service industry, they're like landscaping with Matt. They're heroes.
Well, and Chick-fil-A specifically.
Yes, exactly.
Heroes.
Well, and let's be honest. I mean, like let's just put them in charge of everything.
Yes.
Oh,
I mean, like,
like
Their efficiency is through the roof.
yeah,
I mean,
it's
like
insane.
you can be efficient while being kind and courteous, and it's delicious. So yeah, let's just let them have everything.
That's right. No, things would run a lot smoother. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's the joke that's been going around between Chick-fil-A and Amazon Prime? A lot of the delivery systems could be really overhauled
right.
and changed. Yeah,
That's right. It's so true. All right. Third question. How do you wind down at the end of a long day?
Ooh. That's a great question. I think for me, Craig, you and I were actually talking about this. Every once in a while, appropriately and in moderation. I am a bourbon connoisseur,
There you go.
a whiskey connoisseur. So maybe enjoying a little nightcap is not bad. But I think the biggest one for me, man, is it sounds weird, but it's walking the dog.
Oh,
Honestly, he gets the run in the morning and everything. He's probably spoiled beyond belief, to tell you the truth. But
most dogs are.
it's kind of nice, right? Especially now in the world that we live in of, if you're working from home or if you're not socializing as much, it's nice to get out of the house, get out of where you've potentially been all day long, get out into the fresh air. And then it's been really nice to see how many people are like out exercising.
I agree.
Yeah.
And so you're obviously, because we're in the middle of a pandemic, no one's like, you're not stopping and having a conversation, but like people are starting to be friendly again, right? Yeah. You get a wave. Hey, how's it going? You see the same person at the same time. Good to see you.
Yeah.
It's just a nice, it's a little bit of a break from maybe the not the mundane, but it's a break from the repetitive nature that we can kind of sometimes face in our work environment. So
Cool. We don't know anything about spoiled dogs here.
No.
So I'm gonna borrow Kevin's camera here for just a second and just like
I'm gonna have to say I'm not sure about that spoiled.
Can you see that?
Yeah.
That's ridiculous right there.
That's
Clara.
Yeah.
Which
She's taking over the chair.
which says a lot about Matt. I mean, she won't sleep next to just anybody.
That's true. That's true. That's
I will
true.
take that as a very big compliment.
Yeah. All right, Chase, you're next.
It's being around the cows. With Texas Longhorn cattle that we have out in Elgin, and I like driving out with my fiance and the dogs. And when it's weather appropriate, let the dogs swim. But just hanging around them, cows are just cool.
Yeah.
They're fun to watch, peaceful, and
Relaxing, man.
They are. Sunsets, phones off, and that's it for me. Being around the cattle.
Oh, he just dropped it. When you getting married?
October 2nd.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. It'll be properly disinfected wedding.
There you go.
do that too, wedding venues. But very excited. She's an awesome girl and puts up with a lot. So
Just spray her down right before, make sure she's good. But you're probably going to have to spray him twice, though.
At least.
Yeah, at least. Well, that's awesome. All right, last question. Coming to the home stretch here. Matt, what's one of the best pieces of wisdom or advice you've ever received?
I would say for me is I think for me, my grandfather was a real big role in my life. And I think, he passed on a lot of wisdom, and we were joking about it earlier. This is not a piece of wisdom, but we were joking about it. He used to tell me he'd always get in the last words with my grandmother. It just happened to be yes, ma'am, which I have taken to heart. But I think that his goal to me was, always be continuing to ask the next question. And that sounds weird, but let me explain it. No matter what you're doing, there's always something else that you can do with it. Or when you are talking to somebody and they're telling you a story, you can always ask that next question about, whether you're getting to know someone or know more about their job. So his thing was always, don't be afraid to ask the next question. And always ask the next question, because that's how you develop relationships with people. And having those solid relationships is really what makes a lot of things worth it, is getting to know people and developing that bond and becoming friends and helping them how you can in whatever way. So for me, I'd probably say always be looking for that next question on how you can expand on what you're doing.
Awesome. Very cool. Chase?
Mine goes back to my granddad too. He passed away this past year as well, but he told me, very quiet man. I heard, he yelled at me twice in my life, and I never forget either. Ran a red light one time and shoved his hand in the PTO of a tractor. But he told me, if you ever raise your voice in an argument, you lose the argument.
Ooh.
And
like
I've lost a lot of arguments, but it, being young and stubborn didn't make sense. But as I've gotten older, you lose your cool. Then, any point you're trying to make, any case you're trying to make, you've lost. So that, when I get worked up or a little upset about things, I just got to remember that. But that's, I think, hands down, best advice I ever got.
That's a good
awesome.
one. Yeah.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, normally we have a secret fifth question, but you already answered that earlier in the segment. And
you can do it again if you want.
Yeah, that'd be fine. Let's go ahead and do it right now. Craig asked this question because
it's the only one I am allowed to answer.
That's right.
Or ask.
It's the only one he remembers.
So that's really why. If people want to find you, how do they get a hold of you guys?
Well, you can reach us on our website, again, www.livingsafeatHome.com. We are on Facebook there as well. You can search us, and Instagram. You can also reach out to us at our cell phone. It's 512-917-1113 or 512-917-8654. But they direct you all to their website. Everything's connected, as we talked about how great social media and all that is. So we'd love to talk with you, set up some appointments to look at your homes, make sure you're properly disinfected. And again, we really appreciate y'all having us on. This has been awesome.
It's been a great episode for sure.
No, it absolutely has. We appreciate you guys coming in. It's been our pleasure. No Chick-fil-A pun intended, but we're just thankful that there are people out there that are interested in helping people. And at the end of the day, that's what I get from you guys. You're interested in helping people, and that's what makes businesses thrive and succeed. Is whenever they've got a good foundation of who they are and why they're doing what they're doing. So, and thank you guys for doing what you do, and for taking some time to enlighten the rest of the podcast world out there how to disinfect your home, not just clean it, disinfect it. Yep. So that's awesome. Well, listen, we're glad that you, the listener, have tuned in today, and we hope that you tune in each and every Tuesday, because that's when we put out our new podcast. Our video goes up on Thursday, unless it's today, and then it's going to go out on Friday. But nevertheless, we do our best to get that out each and every week. And so, if you haven't already taken the time to hit the subscribe button, please do that. Go leave us a rating review on iTunes. That would be fantastic. But until next time,